Okay, Jimmy's here. Let's turn down the music. We got news over here on the left. And, yeah, then we got Jimmy. But we can do with a little less of the epidemics, royalty-free music, as you all know. There we go. That's a decent mix of volume levels. You know, it's Tuesday, October 4th. And there's a lot going on. The stock market went up 700 points yesterday, and now it's 750 points today. And the reason for that? No one knows. So you got all the talking heads trying to figure it out, and there is no figure it out. They're supposing now the Fed doesn't talk, and the Federal Reserve governors, they don't talk. So let's turn down. So they're imagining that the Fed is going to not increase rates. You know, with inflation, unless the inflation number has come way down, which of course it hasn't, because gasoline prices are now going back up. So forget about, and after November it's going to go really up because Biden isn't going to be selling 1 million barrels. That's 55 million. A barrel is 55 gallons. 1 million barrels means 55 million gallons of petroleum that's in our strategic reserve. Now, strategic reserve has an indication that you use it for a strategic purpose, not a political purpose. And the political purpose is, let's drop the price of fuel so that everybody thinks the Democrats are really in charge of things because they can make things happen. But guess what? They're not making things happen. Oh, God. So where is the justification in all this? All right, where's Jimmy? There he is. Oops, there's an empty seat. My son Daniel says he's willing to have a two-way open conversation. So I've got, a camera set up to what now looks like an empty seat. And it will be filled by Daniel sometime in a few days. So stay tuned, and we're going to have a two-way conversation. But in the meantime, we've got a one-way conversation, and you're stuck with Jimmy. It's not all bad. I'm usually full of all kinds of, things. Let's collapse this image. And here's what Marilyn sent over her exchanges today. Let's see, we should be able to, there we go. So what does it say? Eyes up, hearts up, minds sharp. Compassion, put it on full blast. Okay, let's go. All right, that's a nice thing to say at the beginning of a little, some kind of a pep talk. All right, so here's my kitchen sink. Look how exciting that is. I got two bamboo cutting boards on there, which are about 9 by 12. Let's say 9 by 12. Over on the very left, in my soda machine, is a little leftover iced tea, which I'll use to take my daily medicines, which I haven't done yet, which I'll do after this. I got housekeepers coming here at 12:30, so it's it's what time is it now? 11:13 a.m. Tuesday morning, and you can see an array of little bottles there, and on the right side of that is some Tito's, a little libation there, and to the left we have hand washings, hand, very important. I use that all the time, to get grease and stuff off my hands. And you see the hand sanitizer. I've got the lotion version and the spray on. Now the spray hand lotion is magical because you can spray that on a pot or a pan or a utensil that you're using. And I'm cleaning off my iPad here. Got a little spaghetti sauce on it. And where's that? There's my spaghetti sauce, my world famous tomato sauce. It's, it changes every time, Every time I make it, it has a slight different cast. And you know what? Because the tomatoes, which are in cans, but it's not a processed thing. They, the Alessi version of tomatoes comes from, a special place in Italy. And there's a DOP, the Department of Produce. You see DOP on the can, Department of Produce in Italy, and they require that these plum tomatoes are a certain ripeness and quality. No bug holes, no, bugs on them, white mice, whatever, lice. And so they're branded DOP. They come from a special place, which I can't tell you what it is. And but it's a product of Italy. And so that's a pot of that. I have it in the refrigerator. It's chilled now. It's probably down to 55 degrees. So I'm going to put it in containers, which I will then put back in the refrigerator. Clean the pot, which I'm going to do that at 12:30 or 12:40 when my housekeeping people arrive. And I will probably put a scoop or two in a bowl of pasta, put it in the microwave, and that'll be my lunch, which is it's a real wholesome lunch. The tomato soup is, it's got two huge the onions are like 2 pounds a piece. They're yellow sweet onions because remember we have tomatoes, which are a little, they're a little acidic, and we don't want acidic taste. So that gets modified by sweet onions, not white onions, yellow onions. And they get these big ones, so we got 2 of them. And I keep it peeling to a minimum. And I chop it up. Chop up the ingredients, put the chopped yellow onions, and the pieces are chopped to, no, we don't want to chop off the thumb, but we want to keep the pieces, about that size. Put them in a pile, put them in a container, whatever. It's probably going to be like 5 cups of chopped onions, could be 4, but 2 big yellow onions chopped up. They stay on the side pocket. Now in my everyday pan, which is a 19-inch caliphate pan. 19 inches. Wow. Is that possible? That's the big. That's a big pan. Yep, 19-inch. That's it. Yep, it's about that size. There you go, 19 inches. Yeah, very good. So, at every tape, you got a lot of room to saute. It's a great pan. You squirrel, you put a little butter in there and move it around. You put scrambled egg stuff in there if you want to. Not in my spaghetti sauce, please. So we squirt, probably an eighth of a cup of olive oil. Maybe, yeah, eighth of a cup. Maybe a quarter cup. Quarter cup? Yeah, quarter cup of really good quality, high quality virgin olive oil. And you turn the heat up to, high blast just to get the pan hot, and turn it back down to medium high. Because you don't want to, that's nice. And you can tell by the consistency of the oil that it's hot. And then you squeeze on there from a squeeze bottle of pre-chopped garlic. And that would be like 3 tablespoons of chopped garlic, which is a lot of garlic. Throw that in there, stir it around, stir fry. You're going to stir, you're going to cook that garlic. All the garlic essence gets in the olive oil. That's why you want a quarter cup of olive oil, because you want the essence of the garlic. You don't want it trapped up in the little grains, because that wouldn't taste very good. So, the granules are about that size, not very big. Squirt that in the in the olive oil. You got that on medium high. You stir that. You got to stay with that with a soft spatula, keep moving it around. Turn the heat down to medium. We do not want to burn the garlic. And, so remember, we squirted that garlic in there, and you mix it around, and the pan temperature then drops, while the essence of the garlic is like boiling out of itself into the olive oil, which is one of the reasons why we put the garlic in the olive oil first. It's not just to cook the garlic, but it's to get all the garlic essence into the olive oil. All right, so as soon as it starts turning a little, just the slightest tinge of golden, throw the onions in. It brings the pan temperature down, and then toss it around, and then you keep sauteing the onions on medium high, mixing it around with the hot olive oil. You got a nice 19-inch pan, so you got lots of room to move things around. One spatula. I'm doing it with 2 hands, but one spatula. I have these red, they're this color red, silicone spatulas, and they're great. They're like $2 a piece anywhere, and I have like 5 or 6 of them. So when I use one, and I throw it in the sink, and then I use another one, you don't have to worry about if you're baking or something or other, and you get a dough or whatever, you just throw it in the sink, and then use another one. So you're not mixing ingredients, colors, or whatever, if that's the case. So then you stir the onions, the yellow onions, which the meat of the yellow onion looks white. Stir that around. It takes maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, to to cook the onions just until they start to turn transparent, from white to transparent. And in here, there we are. We can see a piece of a transparent onion. And there's another piece. I like it so that we don't want to cook the onions because they're gonna be in the hot tomato sauce for a while. So you don't want to cook the onions. What we got over here? There's another piece of onion. So the magic there, no big deal, is to get the onion, all the juices from the onion, into the pan with the olive oil. And so in preparation for the tomatoes that are in the tomato can. Then, nice full palm full of Italian seasoning. And I use Philip LaMarche, a friend of mine from Clearwater area, Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater area, at a place right on the water. God knows. Well, nothing happened, right? Everything went. They had reverse surge. They were talking in Tampa like they're going to get some portion of a surge. Come on, guys! It went into Fort Myers. So they're north of the eye. So in the circuit the wind blows the water out of the canals into the Gulf of Mexico. It's like a spring cleaning of the entire of the Tampa Bay area. All the water gets blown out, and you can see the bottom of Tampa Bay. It's like a mud mess, right? And so if you see a buried treasure box, you can run out there and grab it. Maybe you get some doubloons. Anyway, but that's what happened in Tampa. At Fort Myers, the reverse. They had, oh God, I've got a video which I think I can get it up on here. Let's shrink this down and let's see if I can find that video. It's breathtaking. There it is. Oh God. Here you go. Let's see. Let's get this up on the screen. Meanwhile, our onions are cooking. We're carrying on a few things at once here. So I want to click on right here. There we go. Now we got full screen. All right, now watch this. We're going to get this. There it is. You see, those are the tops of palm trees. Oh my God. I mean, I'm not laughing. It's just so. Oh. There's a roof over there, by the way, up in this corner. That's the roof. That. Oh God Almighty! I mean, people. You talk about storm surge, right? Well, that is storm surge. Let's see if we can get this rolling again. Yeah, there it goes. There's a roof. The water went right over the top of the roof and went over the palm trees. Who would ever think? That storm surge. Oh God. And now you see this surge come up again. I don't know what this deal is with this particular. There you go. Oh my God. Yeah. Just keep repeating itself. October. This is one I diddled with it, October 1st. You can see it shows in Boca Raton, which that's not Boca Raton. Let's get rid of this. That's talk about high water. Oh God! So these houses, smaller, wood frame houses, whatever, um, they just got destroyed because after that water, the storm surge goes through, and it doesn't go away right away because you still have this incredible amount of it stays there. Basically everything's underwater for a while, and it keeps building up for a couple of like for an hour and a half, whatever, because the wind is still blowing all that water in the direction of wherever it's in the case of Fort Myers, the wind is blowing from south to north. So when and the storm was coming in at a bias, it wasn't coming straight in; it was coming at a bias, like a 30-degree angle. Kind of making that up. I didn't measure it, but 150-mile-an-hour winds sustained. You kidding? Phew. You know what it's like to hold your hand outside a car when it's going 75 miles an hour. So you roll the window down and you put your hand out, as a passenger. I mean, there is a huge amount of force with a 75-mile-an-hour wind. Let's multiply that by 2 for 150-mile-an-hour wind. You're talking serious. You don't want to be there. Anybody that said, well, I think I'll sit this one out, just hunker down, hunker, schmunker, get the hell out. That is a stupid decision. I'm sorry to say, I have a brother-in-law that hunkered down, and you hear that sound, and Mr. Murray, my father-in-law, who's up in heaven right now, looking down on us, he hunkered down during Andrew. He lived in South Miami. He said, "I will never do that again." I'm on the phone with him at 4:00 in the morning. It was supposed to go, straight into what do you call it, Hollywood, Florida, which is, between Fort Lauderdale and Miami, straight into Hollywood. It's south of Fort Lauderdale, and I mean directly into Sheridan Street, right up Sheridan Street. I happen to have a banking business that was on Sheridan Street. We were hunkered the hell out of there, but we wrapped our computers. They're up on desks. We wrapped them in, trash bags and tied them up on the bottom and everything. So if the windows blew in, our building was up. When you drove in the driveway, the building was up like 2 or 3 feet. So, depending on what kind of, we're, a pretty good distance from the beach. So storm surge, probably wouldn't reach there. But, with 2 feet of rain, that would flood the whole area anyway. But anyway, so Andrew's coming straight into Hollywood, whoosh, and makes a 45-degree turn and heads directly to Homestead and just wipes it out, everything in its path when it was heading to Homestead, which it cut at a bias, part of South Miami, and all those houses, that were built, with where you had concrete block on the first floor, and then they framed it up, all frame construction on the second story. All the second stories were completely torn off, and if you lose your roof, then everything is gone, because then you got 19 inches of rain raining on all your stuff, and you got the wind is blowing. You have no, you're sitting like on an open pot, and that's not good. So the windows are going to break, and all your stuff gets wrapped up, and you guys are hugging the water heater. No. So you want to be somewhere else. But with Andrew, see, it was headed for Hollywood, Florida, and when it was 30 miles, it had a 30-mile eye. Okay, so it had a huge eye, but it was a compact storm. It didn't have a huge wind field, but the eye was 30 miles, and it was going like 200 miles an hour. They lost track of actually what the wind speed was in the eye of that storm. They, there are technology equipment that's on top of a couple of office buildings in Miami that was supposed to withstand 250-mile-an-hour winds. Whoosh. Those radar antennas were on the parking lot of the buildings. It ripped it right off the roofs of the buildings. Oh my God. It was supposed to be built to withstand 250-mile-an-hour winds. It's gone. No. No. So I'm on the phone with my father-in-law, 4:30 in the morning. I said, don't you want me to? Let's come down. We'll come down and get you. But I gotta leave right now. And he says, Jim, too late, and the avocado tree's gone. What? The avocado tree is like a 4-foot diameter trunk. Gone? What do you mean? Where'd it go? Well, they never found it. We drove down there, 10 days later, and everything's like we had to prove that we were bringing generators and water to, my father-in-law, who was hanging on to the water heater, and the wind is just ripping. But he didn't lose his roof. Nothing crashed in. He was too far inland for storm surge. But that was, you get 5 hours of wind and you're holding on because you don't know if you're going to live or die or whatever. That 5 hours is a long time. By the time you get done with that, you're brainwashed to the point where I promise I'll never do this again. Oh God. And anyway, so that was the Mr. Murray story. Oh God. So we brought, we saved. We knew the storm was coming, so we were saving gallons of water, jugs. So every time we went to the store for like a week, whatever, we were buying jugs. We bought jugs of water, and we had it stored in our apartment. We had like 60 gallons of water, bottled, capped, sealed. We didn't fill it up from the faucet. They were, it was good water. So we put them, lined them up in our car. I mean, if we got in an accident, we would have drowned. And we brought a generator down, and we brought a couple of 5-gallon jugs of gasoline. I mean, we outfitted them up pretty good. And so the first thing he wanted to do is he wanted to get his neighbors plugged in. Oh, jeez. I said, Mr. Murray, can't you just relax with the generator for a day? Nope, I got to get Uncle Tom or whatever his name was. I forget what he wasn't an uncle. But, he lived in the same, they lived together as neighbors for like 50 years. I mean, can you imagine having a neighbor for 50 years? I don't even have socks. Yeah, Maryland, I moved around a bit. We were in Miami. Then we moved over to Tampa for 10 years. Marvelous. Oh God. Love Tampa. Made a lot of good friends. I left the banking business and got in the developing business with the client of, that I was financing at Southeast Bank. And I went to work for South Coast Limited. I think it is. I mean, look, I can look at my wallet because I had, I optimized my wallet because you got all these little things in here, and if you keep putting things in, you don't take things out, it gets thicker and thicker. Here's a new Cardia card. It's got 2 metallic things, and you can. It's got a little battery in there somewhere. and it'll do a an EKG on you, a single lead. All right, so it's not there. This is our press pass to Observer newspaper. I got two of them. This is the old one. I got the new one. You get special permissions from the airlines, which are quoted here, which I'm not going to read to you. And then this is my Tesla card. This is your key. No, leave it to Tesla. You just touch it onto the column that's between your windows. You just tap it on there. Well, I have determined that if I put that card this way, I put a little dot there, I can just take my wallet and rub it on there without fingering around trying to find the stupid card. So they don't tell you that in the instructions. You just have to be smart enough to figure it out on your own. Okay, here's two passport cards. This is my marijuana registry card. No, we don't want that in there. Where's my... Uh-oh. It's here. Oh, God. I'm looking for my... Oh, there it is. I look like a... You talk about a guy that looks like a... I think we need to shake him down. He looks pretty bad. This is my concealed weapon license. Yeah, that's... You don't want to lose that. I mean, that was a major pain in the buttski to get that one. The marijuana card, I did that for 1 year, and I decided, you know what? I hardly did. I didn't. I don't know. Marijuana is not a. It didn't do anything for me. You do this and do that, and I'm saying, okay, I'm ready. Tell me when you're ready to start. All right, this is my Tesla, the other Tesla card. Same key. Name and address on there. Yep. Which you hand to the what do you call it guy? The valet guy. So, I'm not a big valet kind of a thing, but we kind of like recognize the guys at Louis Bassi, which is only 2 buildings away. But when it's in the middle of the heat of the summer, 2 buildings away means the city block is how many feet? It was too many feet. All right, so we're going to put all that stuff in there. I'm going to put the Tesla card there, so it corresponds with the black dot. I'm going to put the valet card, the same thing, on the outside, with the leather. So no matter which way I touch it, it's worth it to have it in there, just so no matter which way you touch it, you end up with, this is my real estate broker license, my primary care doctor card. So all this is medical stuff. That goes over here. On one side or the other. I put it over here on this side with the Tesla card. Stuff's in there pretty tight. This is my American Express card that this is the cash back. I got 2% back when I use that card. So I use that card. It's the only card I use. No, nothing else. Shut that in there because I don't want to do that. So I got my lotto tickets, which apparently no one sent me any. the telegram saying, Jimmy, you better check your ticket because someone in Boca Raton won the lottery. So that's Powerball and Mega Million. So I need to go get some tickets. Just you can't. You're not going to win unless you play. So I mean, that's what all the losers say. 300 million losers to 1. The ratio is not too good. Okay. Oh, I gotta let's go up on here. How about that for a startup screen? And right there, it shows this is a 13-inch screen, iPad Pro. And you can see if we can put this up. Sorry for the noise. They say you're not supposed to touch the boom mic. Well, there you go. So that's the opening screen, which is like an X-ray of a circuit board. And with my own little, you slide that up, and there it is again. Those are my, that's my background. It's 12:15 or 5:15 in London. Let's do this, and we can see we have pictures 750 Dow Jones. The Dow is up 750, and this is there we go. I just came around the microphone. The Face ID sprung into life. All right, what do we got here? This is not the right list. Oh crap! Let's go to. All copied. What's it? Oops. We want something called. Oh, maybe this one. It's coming up real slow. Or I got nothing in there. I thought default list was the one we want. Yeah, that's it right there. All right, so this shows the Dow up 757, 756. And Apple, 145, up $3, which is a 2% increase. APPH is, I think, like a marijuana company or something. It's $1.95. So the graph on that one's not too good. Tesla, up 5%. Tesla, the Tesla company is like crazy good. It's, no question about it being the future. I mean, he is manufacturing factories, and then the factory manufactures cars. So he speaks of his factories as a machine, and the machine makes a bunch of machines, and the machines are the cars, and now they also are making robots. Prototypes at this point. So let's touch on here, and let's see if there's any news. Now, his fourth quarter deliveries was like 300 and. Oh, let's just click on the story. Tesla rebounds post Q3 deliveries, which, are you kidding? It's 343,000 cars, which we can do the old expand overview since we're speaking of it. And you could, so Wall Street said 360. They're pulling these numbers out of their ass. Not pardon the expression. So let's just clean my calculator up. Isn't that nice? You start up a. Oh, you can't see. Can I do dual screen? Should be able to do it. This is like take your choice screen. Oh, all right, so you can you get a little one in there. That's not what I was thinking of. Let's see if we can. There we go. Side by side. I prefer. Switch cameras. Swap cameras. There we go. I like to be on the left side. You see there? This is my phone. But I have an app called RLM 19BX. B like boy. It's right down there. It's right where my fingers point. It's like it has a what do you call it? An icon that looks like the face of a calculator. The camera would focus. Anyway, I touch that. I got a calculator. It's like an HP 12C. What I used to carry around in a separate pocket, as a banker. And you get all the time value of money and stuff in here, and mortgage payoff stuff. What is that? 343,800. 330 times 4. That's 1,000,003 cars. Now, 1,000,003 cars is no joke. That's just, coming out of one factory. Well, coming out of all factories. He just started Berlin, and that's, he had it all together. But his plan is to have each factory do over 1,000,000 cars. So he's got four factories up and running now. He's got China, he's got Berlin. Well, I think he's partially opened Austin, Texas, and he's got Fremont, California. Now, Fremont is not exactly the machine that makes the machines. It's more like a factory, meaning, it's got a line, but it's not. It doesn't have the level of automation. Since Fremont, and they move things around, which, when you move stuff around, you pretty much got to shut the factory down. But he has things quadranted off, So in his mind's eye, he looks at it like a computer chip, like the piece, square 200-foot square area of a factory, is a module, a piece of a complex computer chip. But anyway, these factories, are 94%. I think it's just under 95% automated, and the other 5% is people. A person goes and looks at there are certain things that a person can do that it's hard to get a robot to do. And he had, it was a silly thing. It was like a mat that goes under where your floorboard is, where you have your feet and the pedals. Well, there was some mat that's about, about 3/8 of an inch thick. It's about this thick. And the mat is made of, some kind of goofy fabric, material. It's almost like a bunch of fibers that have been moved around and made into a mat. Not a fancy fabric. So it's underneath the mat. It's almost like an insulating pad. Yeah, let's call that. It's an insulating pad. And they just couldn't get the robot to lay that down properly. And then it would stop. The mat would, fold in half instead of getting, So, and then that would cause the whole line to stop because this stupid robot, the pad folded, it didn't lay flat. So there's some laser eyes who look around and say, gotta stop the factory because this mat ain't in the right spot. Which, then when they put the furniture in and all that kind of stuff, it's going to be a real pain in the neck to get the mat out and replace it or whatever. Anyway, so that part of the line, either the robotics has been enhanced or they put a guy in there or a girl, and she lays the mat, or he does, and does a few other things, Anyway, so that's the silly little things that they worked on at the Fremont factory. And now, when they built the factory in China, Fremont was first, which was an old Toyota General Motors plant. They had like a joint venture where they were building, I don't know what, and it didn't work. So they shut down the factory. Elon Musk, Tesla comes in because they need a factory because they were building cars out of their garage or whatever, and now it's time to get a factory thing going. So they got 500,000 square feet of this closed factory. They cleaned it, they cleaned it out. I mean, there was like nothing in there. There's 500,000 feet of emptiness, and a 28-foot ceiling, and they painted everything white. Like it was white. You had like gray floors or light gray floors, and there's white paint, and cut in, a whole bunch of skylights, which requires a lot of roof work to just cut holes in the ceilings. And so they have these big skylights. It's all white. I mean, it looks like it's going to be a huge operating room. Well, it is, because they're going to, build a machine that's going to make a whole bunch of machines. So it was like the first, that's Fremont, California. So that was Tesla's first, factory thingy, and he had a bunch of process engineers and mechanical engineers, and they all like sat around in conference rooms, trying to lay out where certain, isolated things would be done over on this side, and the paint shop where the bodies of the cars swerve down into a bath of I don't know what, and then it comes up and drips off and blow dries, and then it gets painted, with the white undercoat, and then it gets painted with the color. It goes through some more thing, and then it goes through another paint shop where you got the white paint, black paint, gray paint, whatever colors they got going. They don't have a lot of colors. You got white, black, blue, red, and maybe a midnight black. You don't have a lot of choice. You go into a GM dealership, the whole rainbow is in your command. They got cars of every color known to man. As it seemed like BMW and Mercedes, same thing. They got lots of colors. But we were basically black or white. But I was leaning over the railing on the 8th floor. I said, Marilyn, come on out here and let's just get a little breath of fresh air. So she just got home. She got in her comfy clothes. We're out on the balcony with our first vodka and soda. And I said, I was thinking about our next Tesla. We got, like a year left on the lease. So in about 6 or 8 months, we got to, we have to seriously start planning and getting a hold of, there are some people that work in a showroom arrangement, in Tesla in the mall. So I would go into the mall and with my Model Y and say, okay, this car is coming off lease, in 8 months, and I got to order something, and I don't want two cars, just want one. So I was talking to Marilyn, about this topic, and said, okay, so, I really want to try the white interior instead of the black. Black interior is getting boring, and the white interior looks, our neighbor, at the parking spot right next to us, he just got a new Model S, like Sam, and he's got the steering wheel that's a yoke. It's not a steering wheel, so that's got to be really cool, riding down the highway and you got a yoke. It's like you pull back on it and you got to take off. Oh, jeez. That's probably coming, but not yet. That's an optional extra that Tesla hasn't put in the factory yet. Can you imagine it sprouts wings and goes, okay, we're, let's get up to about 1,000 feet and get above this traffic. Anyway, no. But it has a yoke, and you got buttons on the yoke so you can control your, certain things, volume up or down on your radio. And this one does, but they got controls on the yoke so you don't have to let go of, while you're going down the highway at, 100 miles an hour or whatever. But he's got like the midnight black exterior and white interior. And it is, the car like glows when it's off. But then when you turn it on and the dashboard comes on and all this stuff, and you got this big screen over here, and you got this white interior. And of course you've seen, Tesla's space capsule aircraft things, the same white interior, the same seats. When they were designing the seats for the space thing, they put them in the cars. Why not? Same material, same design. Why have another schlemiel designing car seats? We got spacecraft seats. Put them in the cars. It saves manufacturing costs because we already got the seats. So he's basically got spacecraft seats in the cars. Only Elon Musk would own a rocket ship thing and a car company. Hey, yo. So anyway, so the white, the sterileness of the white interior of the car really looks sharp. And our car, the guy that parks next to us, he just got one, and it looks, just gorgeous. So Marilyn says, "Well, I know you want the white interior because she just heard what I just told you, 1,000 times. Whenever I can get whenever I want to talk about it again, and people are gracious around me. They don't tell me to shut up. They just pat me on the head and pretend they're listening. Anyway, so she said, but white on white, isn't that boring? If it's a white outside and you got a white inside, white on white in white. It's a lot of white. So, but I know you want a white car, so right now we have a black exterior, which really looks sharp, but it is hot. It's hot. It's Florida. Black is hot. You got the air conditioning on, but it's still. It's like the black exterior. It's got it absorbs the heat, and it like radiates the heat inside. Now you do have air conditioning, but your air works hard because you got all that low frequency energy that takes. You got to be running down the road pretty good to keep the black exterior cool. So and basically in Florida, it just doesn't get cool. You fry an egg on the trunk of your car, because if it's 90 degrees outside and you got a black with the tropical sun, it's, you can stir fry carrots or whatever. Just put it on the back trunk of your car, and you can cook a nice cuisine for dinner. Anyway, so she said, how about red? I said, what? The red car is that color red. It is fire engine red. But I've seen it. I've seen it around. And I think I could get. I think I could get used to a red car. It's the color of that button right there, where it says "sell." Yeah, yeah. You can see that button. That red button. Yo, it's red. But red is a hot color. Those you touch a red car, woof, that's hot. So it's not quite as hot as black, but it is close. But she says, well, I think white is a little boring. I think I could deal with red. I said, well, I think I could deal with red. I'd really like to do something other than black though, because black is just so insanely hot. And let's try something different. So she said, okay, and she suggested red, which is like, wow, that surprised me. She is full of surprises. Anyway, so she's our favorite banker, doing a good job. She's making bonuses, and she's in charge of her, fiefdom, and waiting for her to be in charge of, like 10 branches. She should really be in charge. It's too bad to bottle her up into one branch, and she is important in the Boca market, and she'd still continue to go to the Boca events, because she lives there. So instead of driving wherever the hell she's going to drive, on Wednesday when she has a morning meeting with whatever this club or that club, she has a meeting with a bunch of attorneys and things. She's been in this club. There's like 20, like 30, 35 members. All kinds of industries, not many bankers. I don't think any other banker. So she has, and she's gotten all kinds of business from those attorneys. Accounts open and stuff. So, the club it starts at 7:30. So I think it's at the Cracker Barrel. That's I'm guessing. Where these guys all meet and together. So to get for ladies to get men, we can get dressed and out of here in like 10 minutes. Women, no. I mean, they spend a half hour on their hair. So, and then they got other things. So they got to decorate their face with all kinds of that stuff. And then they have to get dressed and they do their nails and the file. It's about, it's like, it's a process. It takes a full hour on high speed. No breaks. It's an hour's work to get out the door. So that means she's got to get up at 6:15. No, she's got to get up at 6 because Cracker Barrel is like 20 minutes away. So then you got to add 20 minutes. Then it takes you an hour to get ready. So that's an hour and 20 minutes. Say an hour and 30 minutes. You got to be there at 7:30. 6 a.m. You got to roll out of bed, or you're going to make that meeting on time. Or you're going to forget to put your shoes on. So that's Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday morning. That's tomorrow morning. And she doesn't like to miss that meeting because she's gotten a lot of business. Out of all the clubs that she deals with, she's gotten more business out of this Wednesday morning group than anything else, any other club that she's a member of. But we keep that a secret. So the Wednesday morning group, she don't want to give up. That's for sure. I don't know if they ever go through this bank now is a $20 billion bank. That's with a boy. Pop boy. 20 billion. Oh my God. Whew. So it's a big little bank. Oh God. It's got, small bank, touchy-feely kind of thing. And, where the executives are, people Maryland knows, they're just regular people. Managers, senior managers of a $20 billion bank are like, they have security. I mean, they float around like, usually in big cities, like New York and Chicago and all that. Usually, about 60 stories up, in a big building. They're not on the ground. They don't walk in from the parking lot and then walk in the building and then just walk in an office thing and then sit down. You have to get in a high-rise elevator. Well, see, these people, they their office right across the hall from Maryland. Maryland runs the branch, the main office in Boca Raton, which is nice. They have I think, the whole ground floor of a fairly nice office building. So it's probably 15,000 square feet, 7,500 on each side. I'm guessing, and a big corridor down the middle. Now it's elevator. I mean, they could take over more floors, which they may. But instead of, I mean, they're just buying up these these entrepreneurial guys. This is the story of what I went through. Like 15 years ago or something like that, maybe 20 years ago. Um, you have a bunch of 45-year-old, executive men and women, business leaders in the marketplace, and they sit around a table and they decide, let's start our own bank. I mean, it happens. I was one of them. So Phil Motter, my business partner, said, Jimmy, why don't you join our group? Because I hear you're really pretty good at running things, and you really understand, banks, the financial aspects of bank. You're a chief credit guy and all this kind of stuff. I'm more of a schmoozer. This is Phil Motter talking, and he is a schmoozer. He knew everybody in the city. He was on the boards of directors of the Chamber of Commerce. He was on the board of every damn thing. And it's all stuff that was important, for the merchandising of a bank. If you wanted to own a bank, he knew so many people that just as soon as they found out he was control of the bank, they'd march in there with the bags of money and make deposits and all this kind of stuff. Well, that's what we did, But then see all these guys that were 50, 52 years old, they become 62, 72. And all of a sudden, we need to monetize our stock. That's what they say. We need to monetize our stock. And say, okay, what does that mean? Well, that means we go public. That's what we did. We we went public, and we were publicly filing. We were not publicly trading, but we were public filing, and to have all the requirements of a public company. You file a 10SB, thing with the SEC, and it requires a whole level of accounting, and of course you have to have an SEC attorney. So we had a really good SEC attorney that was introduced to us through our accounting firm in Buffalo, New York. So he and I talked all the time. Well, at $500 an hour, you need to talk fast. But unfortunately, we were doing stuff that, we're filing, quarterly reports and all that. And it takes, it takes like 2 weeks before you're ready to, file a quarterly report. Well, you file 3 of those, right? And then at the end of the year, you file your annual financial statement, which is really, legal intense. So anyway, I was like, I had my lawyer's home number. He had a fax at home. He had a fax, in the office. At that time, I think you were just coming up to the point where you had email. And it's, a few years ago. And so then email came into being, which was really handy because it kind of eliminated faxes in my book. So we'd email stuff all over the place. drafts and the draft of the draft and the draft with the comments and then the draft that's incorporated the comments, and you got to keep track of, version 1, 2, 3, 4. You got like 27 different versions of the thing before it you put final on it, and then it goes to the board committee to approve. I mean, it's like it's insane the process you have to go through, and you have to do. I mean, that's what every public company does. If you're filing, if you're a public company, so it's an important consideration. If you don't want to have to go through those gymnastics, um, don't be a public company. And the reason for being a public company is you're one step away from monetizing your stock. That's the vocabulary words. We want to monetize our shares. So we would when we talk about raising money, and we're talking to other investors about raising, you want to buy, shares in our little tiny bank, because we've already begun the process of monetizing our shares, which is a true statement, but it's not trading yet. But we've become a very attractive candidate for a merger, either by big boys or, people that are about the same size, because since we're one step closer to in the monetization process, we become active either whether we want to be the buyer or the seller. We're really not selling ourselves to anybody, but it's a very, I use that as a tool anyway. Whether I was trying to be merged or the merge. Do you want to be the merge or the mergee? We were, for a while, mostly, we were interested in buying other people, because I had more. I'm rubbing my eye here. I had more confidence in myself than I had in someone else being the chief policy officer for the loans and loans administration. I had lots of people, lots of accounting firms that said, "Boy, that Jimmy's pretty smart smeller. I mean, a really smart fella." And so, and I must say I did know what I was doing. I'm not saying I was smarter than anybody else, but I had a lot more faith in myself than I had in others that had the same kind of a job that I had. So that prevented me from selling, because we're negotiating with boards of directors and other major shareholders. So when it comes to having that kind of a conversation, and they're looking to buy us rather than us be the buyer, I examined their loan administration staff, head guy on down, and looked at their portfolio and see how they do things in their processes. And, I kind of like myself better than I like them. So I said, yeah, I like this deal, but we're going to be the merger. So you need to look at yourself as being the mergee. We're going to trade shares, and economically there's no big difference. It's just that, we'd rather have you guys adopt our loan policy and procedures. They've been, all wrong all the way up to the very highest people in Washington, D.C., because our public filing nature. And, you'd have to start that from like beginning. And we've already done it. So seems silly. So what about that? So I was very convincing. So we finally ended up being a seller, and so because of the economic, so when we were merged as the mergee, I stepped out. I got off the board. I took a payout, and I figured, the first out might be You got people that hang in there to the end. I was like first out guy. And I decided, and I just kind of like this first out idea. And so if I had it all over again, what I would have done is I would have gone to Coral Gables with Hal Cannell, who was the guy that was doing the buying. He was the buying mouthpiece, and I was the selling mouthpiece. Regardless of whether they're buying, selling, or whatever. But they had some big shareholders coming in, so their board of directors wanted to be the buyer, and they wanted us to be the buyee. So I should have said okay rather than stepping out. Got my payout, but kept my options, and went down to Coral Gables with Hal Cannell, and because he was a really sharp character, and I would have loved to had 5 or 8 years or whatever with Hal Cannell, because he was just, he was definitely the sharpest knife in the drawer, and he was always thinking about things. He was a real creative guy. I was a real creative guy. We would have had, I would have been worn out, with all the stuff that's going on down there with him. But I didn't do that. That was a mistake. I wish I had not. I wish I would have thought more about Hal Cannell when I left. And I could have decided, uh, because I was such a strong partner in our bank group of investors, shareholders, and whatever. I should have stayed on the board, uh, just so our shareholders would have been happy, because they knew I was the steak. I wasn't the sizzle. So I was the meat and potatoes parts operating at the bank, and they wanted me to, kind of like hang around. And I didn't hang around. I didn't consult with them to hang around. Yeah, it's like a stormy period. It's almost like this hurricane thing we're going through now with our friends and neighbors and relatives across the other way. Anyway, so I made I made I made two mistakes. Should have stayed on the board, and number two, um, should have stayed on with the holding company. Got out of the bank entirely. Let them run the bank. That was their big thing, and stayed on the holding company. And as a senior executive on the holding company with Hal Cannell, and we would have had a ball. And I just didn't do it, and I should have. Anyway, so Hal, if you're listening, anything you want to do, I'll do it with you. But I can't find him. I don't know what he's doing, and I can't. People say, I think he's alive still, but I can't find him. So anyway, he had an office in Coral Gables. He's not in it anymore. They don't have the space. It was CP Capital. Anyway, all right. So, I've been talking here an hour and 13 minutes. So I'm just giving away a little going down memory lane here. I gotta wrap it up because we have a cleaning. Two wonderful ladies that come in here and clean us out, clean up this mess. So, without further ado, I'm gonna, hang this up and. Oops, sorry. I got a whole new thing. There's our empty seat. That's where Lee has decided. Not Lee. Daniel has decided that he'd be interested in having a two-way conversation with our international viewers. So there's the seat, and so I got the camera shooting over there. I got this camera shooting over this way, and I figured out I can actually control two cameras and what you call it, an iPad from one location. And So that's that. And now I got a little miniature one of these. I don't know why, but I'm going to get rid of that. So this is, I'm going to say goodnight. So you all have a nice afternoon, and we'll speak to you tomorrow. So with that, what happened to our music? The music stopped. That's okay. We'll talk to you soon. Let's see.
We'll keep you posted on that. Also keep you posted
Turn
on
up
some
computer.
developments. Twitter and the shares were halted at least twice, up right now about 2.5%. There is a possibility the deal with Elon Musk could be back on after this. This thing is making me get an ice bath again.
What do you mean? These straps are mind-blowing. They collect hundreds of data points.